Treasurer is staring down a decade of deficits as the clock ticks down to tonight's budget. But that hasn't stopped the government dropping a few hefty pre-election sweeteners. So will it be enough to woo voters?
It's budget night, baby. And everyone wants to know what's in it for them.
It is so hard. It's impossible to live right now.
I want to see that reflected in this budget. Bring the food prices down, please.
With children, it's important to me cost of living.
The main focus?
We have shown a willingness and an enthusiasm to do what we responsibly can to help people with the cost of living.
Hip pocket relief front and centre. The government has already announced a $1.8 billion cash splash to extend the energy rebate, knocking another $150 off soaring power bills for every household.
Why am I getting that money, mate? Not means testing and throwing your money out there, taxpayers' money out the way that they are, like they're a packet of lollies, is absolutely disgusting.
It is far more efficient to deliver it in the way that we have to make sure that every Australian household receives this support, because that is what is deserved.
Then there's the $8.5 billion boost to Medicare, aiming to make 9 out of 10 GP visits bulk billed by 2030. And the PBS pledge, cutting the cost of PBS medicines to no more than $25.
The election will be a referendum on Medicare.
The government attempting to use this unexpected fourth budget to woo voters with cost of living relief, ahead of what's set to be a cost of living election.
We need a budget for the next 5 years and beyond, not just a budget for an election campaign.
Before the last budget, 80% of voters couldn't name a single thing the government had done to make them financially better off. But after the budget was handed down, around half said they could.
Whoever brings a good budget out, my vote goes for them, for sure.
I'll need a lot of convincing.
It's so important for us to be spending our money in the right places, and if we're not, then why would they get our vote?
So, with an election just days away from being called, will tonight's budget shape the result?
Economist Stephen Koukoulas is with us now. Kouk, you were an economic policy advisor to Julia Gillard when she was Prime Minister. So pull the political curtain back for us. What would the vibes be like behind the scenes? How would the Treasurer and PM be feeling?
Yeah, budget night's so exciting. It's the culmination of weeks and months of work. It's a combination of both getting the economics and economic policy right, or trying to do the right thing by the voters, but it's also what's the update on the economy? What's the budget balance? Did we get a surplus? How big was the deficit? So it's the fruition of all that hard work. The speech starts shortly. The Treasurer gets to his feet and delivers the speech, and then there's a great big sigh of relief that the budget's finished for another year.
And because of the timing, is there a real consideration that this budget could affect the election?
Oh, look, I think so. We know that the election's probably going to be called possibly this weekend. The rumours are flying around about that timing. And of course, it's the government wanting to lay its economic credentials on the line. It's wanting to say that, yes, they're delivering a budget that's promoting economic growth, that's got inflation back towards the target range, where unemployment rates still hovering around 4.25%. So that's good news. And in fact, one of the best things you can do for cost of living is keeping people in a job, because if you don't have a job, cost of living's absolutely horrendous. If you've got a job, yes, it's stressful still, but at least that full employment goal is part of the budget strategy.
This is a pre-election budget, not one they wanted to give, incidentally, but they're stuck with it. And there's always a danger with pre-election budgets that they end up throwing out a whole lot of money and they make bad decisions for a political return. Do you think there's a risk of that happening tonight?
Look, there's always a risk, and there's always a risk that the opposition comes back with something similar too. But of the things that I've seen, and obviously we'll get the full details shortly, things like extending the electricity subsidy and Medicare payments and these things, they're all pretty good ideas, I think. And yes, they cost a lot of money. Yes, they're pumping money into the economy. And yes, they're one of the reasons why we've gone from a surplus last year to a deficit this year. But frankly, I prefer to have a deficit when the economy is at full employment than a surplus and we have 1 million people unemployed. That's the sort of trade-offs that policymakers, governments, treasurers make when they frame a budget each year.
You mentioned the excitement, and let me tell you, the atmosphere in this studio is electric because of the school group are loving it. But it is so exciting that influencers, this is real, have been invited to the budget lockup for the first time. What are they doing there? That's what I want to know.
Yeah, look, I think it's part of the strategy of appealing to people who aren't normally engaged in the political process. Yeah, as we've just discussed, there's an election soon, and we know that a lot of people, particularly the younger folk, are disengaged with the political system. So to the extent that they get influencers who tend to have a younger audience, getting engaged in some of the policy initiatives that will be in the budget, I think it's just the government trying to sort of broaden the distribution of their news and appeal to the way that news is distributed. We don't just read the newspapers anymore. In fact, I can't even remember when I bought a newspaper last time. It's all social media, it's TV, it's watching the project after it's recorded live. So there's a whole lot of things that they're doing, and I think the influencers are designed to sort of spread the message from the government's perspective.
We're live now, Kook.
Yeah, we're live.
I know we're live now, but we'll watch it on iView tomorrow.
Good to see you, Kook. Thanks very much.
Thank you.